Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bitcoin News Hour, brought to you by Cafe Bitcoin, the most active Bitcoin club on Clubhouse. During the Bitcoin News Hour, we will cover all the latest headlines in Bitcoin. But this isn't your normal network news show where they talk and you just listen. Today's headlines will be presented and discussed by you, the members of Cafe Bitcoin. To participate in the Bitcoin News Hour, simply change your avatar to the headline you'd like to talk about. Today's moderators will then bring you up from the audience. You'll get 1 to 2 minutes to introduce the headline and give everyone the gist of the story. And then everyone will discuss the news before we move on to the next headline. Now, before we get started, do us a favor and click the plus sign at the bottom right of your screen to invite anyone you know who might enjoy this show. And if you're new to Cafe Bitcoin, click on Cafe Bitcoin at the top left and join the club. You can also visit cafebitcoin.club to find our full schedule of events, as well as a fantastic list of beginner Bitcoin resources. And now, get your headlines ready because it's time for the Bitcoin News Hour.
Why don't you go ahead and I'll go after you. Hey guys, we're going to have a really short news hour. The name of the game is to share your knowledge of the day. And if you've read a story, do us a favor, change your avatar, raise your hand. Let's all catch up on the news. Go ahead, Jack.
So I was, and I even posted in there, I was in a physician crypto group with a couple people that I help out. And this was from Cryptopolitan, where they talked about Dogecoin going up over $50 billion now, and now it's worth more than Barclays. And one of the physicians in that group, of course, tried to convince me that this was such a great investment. And after dealing with that person for about now 2 hours on this thing, because he reportedly bought $1,000 of Doge and made $1.05 million. I've now convinced him to sell the Dogecoin and buy BTC. But I think especially today on 420, this is supposedly, and I didn't know this until I read this article, today is supposed to be Doge Day. I have no idea what that means. But apparently, at least in this one physician crypto group, there are a lot of psychotic.
It's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens today. That's for sure.
Brecky, I'm looking for that cut about breaking news. Breaking news, there are a lot of psychotic people in the crypto markets. Now, Jack, certainly appreciate it. If there is nothing over the course of alt season,
Ladies
is there
and
a
gentlemen,
means of...
Can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story. And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen. Bitcoin!
There you have it, folks. Breaking news brought to you by Ron Breckendy.
Yeah.
Brecky.
And shout
What's
out
up?
to Frankie McDonald's, of course, as well for his Bitcoin chat.
So good. That's so good. So perfectly married. Brecky, do you want to do your story? Do you want to let Aaron?
Yeah, mine's quick, so I'll go. Basically, this broke today. Mike Novogratz's Galaxy Digital is said to be in talks to buy crypto custodian BitGo. A deal between the asset manager and the crypto custodian is close to being finalized, sources tell CoinDesk, although it doesn't say who those sources are. So we'll see what happens. That could be interesting.
That's next natural play, right?
That one I do actually really like. I like the fact that Novogratz is getting into that business because he can start to sell bullets on both sides. And, even though there's a lot of people that I think are maximalists, don't like that Novogratz still is kind of shilling a couple of shitcoins. He really is a good ambassador, I think, for the Bitcoin community. So anything he does to up, his position in the community, I think actually is a bullish statement.
Yeah, BitGo is an old company. I think it's been around since like nearly the beginning of Bitcoin, a couple years after. So it's a really, really old company. Obviously has a lot of ties to Ethereum, but other than that, it's, one of like the big players.
I mean, is that the next natural play for large institutional holders
I
to
think
ultimately move into that custodial solution as well? And just how's
absolutely, John. This is going to be huge because I think Novogratz knows that when all these institutions come in, he's looking to buy a crypto company before any of the big banks get in, and he's going to try to offer a suite of services to these institutional investors. You got to remember all the connections that he has. To me, this is actually a brilliant move before, like, Goldman gets in, Morgan Stanley, Citigroup. And with his connections, I think he totally retools that. And Aaron's right. I think BitGo was out 2012 is when they became, part of the ecosystem. I would be willing to bet you that he'll service this buy with a ton of young talent to take it to the next level. For instance,
is this a new play to compete with something of the likes of like a Fidelity, someone that's been in the space, even mining, quite frankly, and hodling for quite some
I
time?
think so. Yeah, I definitely think he wants to get in before any of those people really get up and running. And I think he knows if he hires the right people, which is going to be tough to do. But if I know Novogratz, he's probably going to pay people in Bitcoin, and that will get a lot of talent to move.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting move. We'll see what the market does in response. Aaron, any commentary, or would you like to share your story really quickly? And
Yeah, sure. I'll go quickly because I know it's probably been covered for most people, but just, we'd be remiss to not mention kind of the biggest news of the day, which is Venmo, which is owned by PayPal. Venmo is also going to link into Paxos's API and allow users to buy Bitcoin. Venmo has about 70 million users in the United States. It is owned by, as I said, PayPal, very popular, convenient cash sending, payment sending app in your wallet. And it's just another on ramp for Bitcoin. So, obviously, a very big, important piece of the news today. And
just a reminder, folks, you'll be able to buy your shit coins there.
John, you cut out when you said the word shitcoin. I think that was prophetic.
God, is the Lord Satoshi works in mysterious ways, man. I really, really, really can't emphasize that enough. But all joking aside, another shitcoin
yeah,
casino,
yeah,
nonetheless.
it is.
And
Unfortunately, it's going to support Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash.
There's no
But
need to go into all of them. I mean, we got it. We got it.
and just a brief reminder, folks. You at the same place that you get your medicine, you can buy cigarettes. So let's not mistake the almighty Bitcoin for, dare I say it, the shitcoins. Bloop, 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 bloop. Anywho, Aaron, thanks for sharing the story. Anybody want to comment on the Venmo play? I do think it's still a significant story, and certainly an adoption move that had to take place in a year ago. This would have been the biggest news story of the
Yeah,
crypto.
I think one thing that I'd like to add to that is because of the Venmo announcement, if you go to like the iOS like top like financial app list, all of those apps have some sort of Bitcoin offering. So I think because of Venmo, like literally all the top financial apps in iOS are the most popular ones have Bitcoin.
Do we know when it's going live? Is it available for all users yet? I just opened Venmo and I didn't see anything. Maybe I need to update.
yeah, I think it's rolling out today. It should be live.
Gotcha. All right.
A quick reminder, they are not allowing you to self-custody that Bitcoin, so don't get too eager to be buying your Bitcoin there if you're a Venmo user or have some Venmo funds sitting there. I would certainly wait till an off-ramp is there as well. So, yeah, I still think it's a phenomenal development. My personal feelings around their shitcoin casino aside, I'm really, really excited to see the continued capitulation of mainstream corporate technocrat America. Anyone else want to chime in on that?
The rising tide for all boats. That's the way I feel about it. Not that they're someone I would do business with, but if it makes it that more people come to the ecosystem, I think it's good.
Absolutely. In fact, Jack, before I let you hit another story there, I just wanted to pull this tweet up, which I found not necessarily to be newsworthy, but you'll have to zoom in on my retweet of Michael Saylor retweeting Charlie's tweet, basically pointing out the commodity prices gain over the last year, I believe. Spencer Schiff, the better half of the Schiffs, retweeted, "You're brutal." And I just thought that to be an incredibly awesome reminder that gold is dead and Bitcoin is coming for its lunch.
John, did you see also, I think somebody else tweeted, I think it was either Willy Woo or somebody else, they added that Bitcoin's price for 2020 was plus 826. So that's even more solid.
I didn't see that retweet, actually. I've been playing a lot of catch up this afternoon, but that's pretty funny. They're just dunking all over him.
Hey, John, I've got another story.
Go for it.
So this comes to us from our friends over at Bitcoin Magazine. Amid a historic level of liquidation for Bitcoin over the weekend, NYDIG, a Bitcoin-focused investment manager, worked to acquire more Bitcoin, according to a recent email sent to its subscribers. NYDIG's global head of research, Greg Cipolaro, explained in the email how it believes the root cause of the sell-off had to do with investor positioning rather than fundamental news. Simply put, traders were over-leveraged and positioned long, resulting in forced liquidations. This assessment made NYDIG feel that the price drop was an opportunity to acquire Bitcoin at a discount. Made me feel the same way. Furthermore, the email indicated that other institutional investors have had a buy-the-dip mentality during these risk-off events, suggesting increasing ease with handling Bitcoin's volatility. In traditional investing, cut your losses short and let your winners run is one of the most enduring sayings. This idea is to limit the possible losses of your investments by selling them at the smallest signs of downturn. Bitcoiners, however, have been known to portray and evangelize a buy-the-dip mentality, which dictates that a drop in prices is an opportunity to acquire more Bitcoin at cheaper prices, rather than a warning sign that they should cash out. And for anyone who doesn't know, NYDIG is one of the Bitcoin space's most significant investment entities. It recently raised $100 million to propel a Bitcoin-powered insurance strategy. They filed for regulatory approval to offer a U.S.-based Bitcoin exchange-traded fund and led a seed round for Bitcoin custody financial services provider Unchained Capital. Very bold.
Love it. Love it. Anyone want to chime in on that story? The Apostle Ross Stevens, is he starting to ascend into apostle status, Eric?
Yeah, I was actually, I think a lot of people were up late on Saturday night when that crash happened. And it was interesting to hear from Corey, one of the creators of this club, talking about how he was trying to source Bitcoin. He actually ran out for, I think, 10, 20 minutes, calling his desk guys, telling them to try to clear more Bitcoin. It was quite difficult at that time to get it when you needed it. Every exchange out there has a balance to kind of buffer, certain amounts of volatility, but in extreme, sigma events, there can be a shortage. So, yeah, it'll be interesting as the market continues to mature. We can defend against these. There's rumors that there was a, kind of a manipulation coordination on that late night attack. So as the market gains liquidity and as more and more, institutions like New York DIG are able to, participate, I think it's going to be better for the industry to prevent against these types of.
Jack, do you want to either chime in on that or lead with your Glassnode story? I'm going to quickly reset the room. I see SDBTC has a story. I can't see what that is. But simply, guys, this is the Bitcoin News Hour, a place where you can catch up on the news of the day, especially during the bull run when the news is coming at us at a furious pace, maybe even faster than I'm talking, for that matter. But we try to use this hour to catch up on the news. The format's simple. If you have a headline that you've read, change your avatar to that headline, raise your hand, give us the 1 or 2 minute version of the story. We'll discuss it for about 3 or 4 minutes and hit no more than about 10 or 12 stories to catch everyone up in about an hour. Jack, why don't you lead with that second? Actually, T, why don't you lead with your story? And then, Jack, why don't you jump in with the second story? Is that cool?
Yeah, here. So mine came from the Visual Capitalist. They have a bunch of really good visualizations of Typically just all kinds of different data. But just this morning, they published an article titled "Visualizing the Power Consumption of Bitcoin Mining," and typically they're in their typical format. It's like an image, and it has all these different comparisons of energy from different things, and I think it's noteworthy. They source the Cambridge study and the Cambridge numbers for Bitcoin's consumption, which, in my opinion, overestimates it just slightly. But it is good to see the visualizations compared to things like Google, Facebook, countries, and like all the data centers. So it's a good read.
Yeah, I love that blog. They always have some good visualizations. They're not, they're not in the business of researching too much, but they do a great job like visualizing.
Cool. That is a pretty cool graphic. Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that perspective too, and just constantly educating on like the environmental impact FUD. I think Bitcoin Clubhouse has benefited from folks like you in Denver and others to kind of combat that steady flow of environmental FUD. Rob, before we go to Jack, we covered the Venmo story, so I'm not sure if there's another angle you want to cover or a different story. Just wanted to give you a heads up. But Jack, why don't you lead with that Glassnode headline that I'm struggling to read there?
Yeah, this Glassnode headline actually also comes from some of the tweets from Willie Woo. Willie's got a lot out today, but one of the main things is with this last big 10,000 candle drop, several good things have happened. Number one, coins continue to move off of the exchange, so the supply side shrinkage is very bullish. And he went on to also say that the revisit of this lower price has created an incredibly strong price validation for Bitcoin right around the 1 trillion cap. 14% of the supplies moved above the 1 trillion cap. So again, another bullish story. If you haven't, got yourself
Hey, Jack, restate that again.
buy it.
14% over the. Can you restate that? I'm struggling to interpret that.
14%, 14% of supply last move above the
Oh,
$1
I see.
trillion
That makes
cap.
sense. I missed that. Got it.
Very bullish. Everybody needs to go out and buy a little bit.
Not just bullish for the price, right? But we constantly in these rooms and just in the Bitcoin community, way outside of Clubhouse, are constantly talking about the need for self custody, the importance of sovereignty, and the tie to actually owning your coins, not just from the the perils and lessons of Mt. Gox and those types of things, but rather like just actually owning your own Bitcoin, being your own bank, and really starting to improve the value of the entire network, and maybe the confiscation arguments or the ability to not confiscate an asset, a bearer asset like Bitcoin. So yeah, I find that to be awesome news. Really quite through the entire bull run, which I don't know how this compares to 2017, but I got to believe that this is outpacing in terms of self custody and in terms of folks taking control of their keys. I got to believe that pace is outpacing 2017 in a really.
Yeah, I think it is.
SD, welcome to the Bitcoin News Hour.
Hey, thanks, man. Yeah, so my article is titled We Work to Accept Crypto Payments and Hold Them on Its Balance Sheet. So I'll just read a little bit of it. Co-working space giant WeWork is the latest company to announce plans to hold crypto on its balance sheet. The SoftBank-owned commercial real estate firm announced its plans via statement on Tuesday. WeWork's crypto balance sheet will come from the company adopting crypto as a payment method. According to the announcement, WeWork has partnered with crypto payment service platform BitPay to accept digital currency payments for its workspaces. WeWork will reportedly accept Bitcoin and some shitcoins. The company's crypto adoption drive also includes paying landlords and other partners with cryptos as well via a partnership with the United States-based exchange Coinbase. So it looks like they're going to hold it on their balance sheet and use it as payment as well, which is pretty cool.
I was thinking about this as I was especially thinking about like all the Walmart rumors, right? And like Walmart, like basically, I gave the example talking to Huddle about this that like Walmart buying Bitcoin is like being the student who really just like has failed the entire semester, hasn't turned in a homework assignment, right? And like Amazon is like that National Honor Society kid, right? And like all of a sudden the teacher's like, hey guys, I got an extra credit assignment, right? And like all you got to do to pass this class or to play catch up is like do this extra credit assignment. And like that's what Bitcoin represents for a lot of failing companies, for companies that have either been devastated by terrible decision making and like getting lapped, whether it's Amazon and Walmart or whether it's a WeWork. Aside from like some of their negative publicity and some of the financial mismanagement, and I won't get into that discussion. But imagine if you're a really a cash heavy business, you're really well funded, and you're getting diced up by COVID. Like you could have just bought a bunch of Bitcoin to hold on to it to ride out COVID. And I wonder if WeWork could have been an example of that. And it's interesting to see the play that they're making with this particular headline. So I'd love to get anybody's thoughts on my terrible but simple strategy. Well, there you have it, folks. I'm 100% right, and there is no rebuttal.
If you
Great.
haven't watched the documentary on YouTube on Hulu, sorry, about WeWork, it's
I have not, but I'll add that to the list of things that don't have a cartoon character that I'm not allowed to watch with toddlers in this home. But all joking aside, Jerry, thanks for sharing that story. Aaron, I'm not sure if that's a news story or not because I can't read that. But is that the Novogratz Bitbox acquisition?
no. So this is a new one actually. So this is an order of dismissal from a New York federal judge. This actually comes. I really like to follow the lawsuits. So an investor had sued Bbox, Bibox, which is one of those other exchanges, for selling unregistered securities. The reason that the judge dismissed this particular case is that it came 16 months past the action or whatever, the listing of the token, which in this case was the BBOX token, BIX. So she dismissed it just because of timing. But this one was it looks like one of roughly 11 suits filed in April, but many of those cases are still playing out. So there's an action against Binance and HDR Global, which operates BitMEX, and those are still ongoing. So I just thought it was interesting that to learn that this particular suit was dismissed, but there are several others that seem to be ongoing. And these are private claims regarding the actions of these exchanges listing unregistered securities.
Interesting. Aaron, do you think that there'll be a scenario where people can sue exchanges, or people will, or there'll be class action lawsuits or whatever there might be, but some type of legal action toward exchanges that are listing these? So imagine a Coinbase or others just literally being sued for creating markets for some of these shit coins that later may be sued by or had action either taken out by Department of Justice or Treasury or or the.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's already lawsuits against, Coinbase, Kraken, several others for listing Ripple. There is this the lawsuit is already
Oh,
ongoing against Binance and BitMEX for listing EOS, QuantStamp, and Status. So there's actually I think Morrison Cohen lists an entire crypto tracker. Yeah, Morrison Cohen. If you go MorrisonCohen, Morrison Cohen, they have as of January at least, they listed the lawsuits against crypto companies, and there were several hundred in them. So you can go if you're like really interested in following all these lawsuits. But there are many, many, many actions against the exchanges for listing unregistered.
yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out and see if that is a risk factor that exchanges take on when they know they're listing shitcoins.
Hey, John. Yeah, you said thank you, but I hadn't shared my
You know
story
what it
yet, so I
was?
thought I'd
I
pipe
think
in.
what happened is I refreshed my screen and you switched spots with SD. I noticed you
Yeah, I
changed
figured.
your story, but
Yeah.
Jerry, why don't you go ahead before I blast Doge's?
Yeah, no worries. Actually, before I do, I don't know if Walmart has had any formal announcements, but in the last 4 days or so, I've heard two different talking heads on CNBC list Walmart in their list of, well-known companies to have already acquired Bitcoin. And it was just mentioned and nonchalantly mentioned. And so I found that interesting that because I haven't
All
heard anything. Yeah, I've heard two separate talking heads on CNBC mention them, but it wasn't the focus of the conversation, so there was no questioning.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. But
I think
anyway,
I think they're going to announce soon. Guy Adami and Dan Nathan have been talking about it for about the last week, and
right.
there's even been some tweets out about it. So I think it's coming. I think the SEC filing's not
And they're already paying suppliers with
correct.
Bitcoin,
That
apparently.
that that's
Yeah,
actually what they mentioned on CNBC.
right. Yeah. Anyway, my
Hey,
story today
I
is
don't own it.
what's that?
Yeah, yeah, really. I mean, they could use a third-party payment processor to pay in Bitcoin, even if they didn't own it themselves. But this originally came to light with the op-ed in Bitcoin Magazine, which was on March 29th. So it's been, 3 weeks since this op-ed is speculated about this Walmart buying Bitcoin story. So we'll see.
Yeah. Anyone know when their earnings call is?
The 18th, I believe, of May. Either 12th or 18th are the two numbers coming to mind.
Oh,
Where
not
they
till
dropped their quarterly earnings report.
right.
Yeah, I have a bet going that Walmart has already bought and they will announce around or that day. So I hope that that's true because I really want more steak dinners that I'm winning in various forms on Clubhouse. But Jerry,
Yeah.
what's your take? Do you think
I I don't know. There's where there's smoke, there's fire, right? And it seems to be pretty rampant right now. So I'm gonna go with the news that I want to hear and say yes.
self-selection? I love it.
Yeah, yeah. My story today was with regard to Bill Miller, who if you're in the community, he's been a proponent for Bitcoin for a while. But he was on CNBC today, and of course, they asked him about his perspective on Bitcoin. I found it interesting that he seemed less reluctant to be bullish. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't waving the pom poms, but he was very direct and very clear and very bullish in his commentary. And he basically said it's hitting the mainstream um, and the supply doesn't come close to the demand, so numbers going to go up. And the last thing he said, which was awesome, which was something to the effect of, there's $30 trillion in bond market that pays less than Bitcoin, so why would you buy those?
Yeah, he mimicked what Dalio said 4 weeks ago, and then after the Texas A&M meeting, if you guys, I don't know how old some of you are, but Bill Miller used to get his ass handed to him in like 1998 when he started talking up Amazon, and the guys back then would always rag him hard, and
Right.
he kept telling him, he goes, "I'm telling you, this stock at the time it was like $5." He goes, "I'm telling you, this stock is going to go to the moon," and he was right. So the fact that he's on Bitcoin now, I'm sure the guys at CNBC do not want to double cross him.
Yeah, and they asked him if he thought it was a bubble, and he said, no, it's not a bubble. He thought 2017 was a bubble, but he thinks this is nowhere close to a bubble.
Yeah, interesting. Bill's definitely been a voice, and I think what's maybe the more interesting thing to glean there is kind of his tone, if you will. I'm taking your word for that, Jerry. Like
Yeah.
you couldn't say that shit in 2017 to 2019. You couldn't go on to like Bloomberg or CNBC, quite dare I say it, Fox Business, and talk about Bitcoin without like risking like the crazy profile or risking being the crazy talking head. And now you can just kind of walk in there as the Bitcoin billionaire, Bitcoin millionaire, whoever it is that's being interviewed on these mainstream channels
Yeah,
and
and
talk about it as the legitimate asset that it is. You
he's
don't
a
have to be
value
like,
investor, right? He's not even a speculator. He's a value investor. But anyway, it was good to see. Thanks for bringing me up. Have a great evening, guys.
yeah, Jerry, thanks for sharing that story. I missed that today, so thanks for bringing that up. Hey, T-Bane, I absolutely love this thing by Gladstein. Will you go before I talk about Doge and let Rajwinder?
Yeah, so he wrote an article recently in Bitcoin Magazine that I thought was just incredibly well done and touches on a lot of points. But I'd recommend it if anybody's looking for a good read. It's Bitcoin is a Trojan horse for freedom, and he compares it to you know the horse, that the Greeks used to fall the city of Troy and get behind their like impenetrable walls. And I think it's a really great metaphor, and it's a great article, and I'd recommend it for anybody.
Yeah, big fan of Gladstein and the entire team at HRF. They're a really great group that I think takes a different perspective to the community that a lot of us, I think, sometimes take for granted. But yeah, I caught a little bit of that tea and read it earlier, and really thought it was a well written article with a lot of interesting insights. I'd love to talk some shit about Doge because the amount of text messages that I've gotten from family and friends about Doge is absolutely mind-numbing. I'm going to go ahead and just read from this article. Dogecoin is a joke. Get over it. Nobody can talk with a straight face. Nobody can talk with a straight face when it comes to Doge, he writes. Really, all the talking points go out the window with Doge. Bitcoiners who've made an extraordinary sum of money in a short period of time love to talk about how they're taking on the Federal Reserve or taking on the banks and enabling some kind of peaceful revolution. Basically, Dogecoin is like Bitcoin stripped of all the virtual signaling. The ultimate meme coin has jumped from less than 2 cents at the end of January to about more than 40 cents in the last few days. Its market cap is hovering around 50 billion plus, and the momentum shows no signs of slowing. Today is Doge Day on Twitter, and the coin is set to win more internet friends. Although I don't think that's true. I think it's crashed a little bit today, looking at its price dumping, I think like 30%, if I'm not mistaken. Someone correct me. It was what I checked before we jumped on the news hour, but God, I cannot wait for this little dog to die. This joke has gone on for too long. Anywho, enough of Doge news. But yeah, we need this thing to go away. Raj, welcome back, bro. What do you got there with the Bitfarms plans 210 MW Bitcoin mining facility, a megawatt facility in Argentina? Would love to hear more about that.
Thanks, John. So yeah, this is I think a couple of days old news, and this is Bitfarms, a Canadian company. Their ticker symbol is BFARF. Um, they have basically announced this pretty big project, increasing their facilities size from 60 megawatt to 210 megawatt, and effectively they are harnessing electricity in Argentina. Argentina, as you know, has a lot of natural resources such as hydroelectric power, uh, and they are going to access the additional 150 megawatt at a rate of 2.2 cents per kilowatt hour, which is pretty big, uh, sort of a lot lower than the 3 to 4 kilowatt hour needed for successful mining.
Yeah, they'll be competitive at 2.2 cents. That's
Right, and they can put some old miners to profitable use over there because the electricity cost is so low, so they don't even have to wait for some of the 48,000 bit. I think the miners they ordered are from micro BT, so they don't have to be waiting for those miners to be delivered, and they can start using it right away. It's a deal with a private company in Argentina, and they're going to hook up their mining farm to the hydroelectricity produced at that dam directly, and they're not going to be connected to the grid. So if there is any grid problems, they are likely to be insulated from that to some extent. And then there is some more interesting nuggets in it. The cost of mining in Quebec for them is $7,500 per Bitcoin, and in Argentina it's 45% lower, so their break-even point will be $4,125, which is way below the price. So they'll be supremely profitable, and even with old miners they should be doing very well. So this is going to add to the hash rate. The deal they have for the 2.2 cents per kilowatt hours is for 4 years, and the total length of the contract is 8 years. So I guess there will be some price negotiation for the remaining 4 years down the line. So I think this is a very bullish news. More renewable, zero carbon energy being, pressed into securing the blockchain, and a company actually going out to a remote area and making use of the free energy there, and do profitable Bitcoin mining. The price chart for Beef FARF is a little interesting. It's fallen down the last 3 or 4 days, along with the rest of the Bitcoin related companies. So I'm planning to put some money into that when the market opens tomorrow. I just learned about this. I was digging for some interesting news.
Yeah, no, I think that's an awesome take. And before any of the other mods want to jump in on the story, if you've recited a story, if you shared a story today, if you don't mind going to the Telegram group, t.me/Bitcoin Clubhouse, please just drop the link in there in the companion group, and that way people who can't join or have had to leave earlier or joining late can catch up on all the news that we covered today. We'll also be posting the link to this on Swan Signal, and I'll retweet it out on Twitter. I'm sure Brecky and others will as well. Neil, do you have a minute to take over? I'm just getting a phone call from my daughter's daycare. We left off at Emmerich, if you don't mind, Neil or Shelley. Emmerich.
Hey guys, so basically my story for today is just an announcement for you all to make sure to be available tomorrow for the highly anticipated debate between Michael Saylor and the Goldbug Frank Justa at 3 p.m. Eastern Time.
I don't think that's going to be much of a.
Yeah.
Yeah, Emmerich posted that a minute ago. Go ahead, Neil. Posted
I
a little
think.
bit about a story.
No, I was just going to say, I think most Bitcoiners know more about gold than gold bugs know about gold at this point. And I think Seller's going to wipe the.
Yeah, we also Dennis is here, and he's going to be doing a little bit of a post debate show. So definitely check that out tomorrow after the debate here on Bitcoin Clubhouse. Um, yeah, I posted a little bit of a tweet that Sailor had retweeted, posting all commodity prices, and he says, gold's all the way at the bottom. He says, read all the way to the bottom. Spencer Schiff retweeted it. I found that shit hilarious as hell. Anywho, not sure if anyone else wants to chime in. Got about 15 minutes left to cover a few more news stories. If anyone else wants to get on stage, please update your your avatar to a headline. You see the instruction in Bitcoin Chris's avatar. Simply come up on stage, give us a 1 or 2 minute summary of the story. We'll discuss it for no more than a few minutes. Try to cover about 10, 12 news stories in the hour. Jack, I love this inflation. I think is this an inflation story, or what do we?
John, you know me, dude. It fits with my Clubhouse thesis yesterday. I was telling people about how the general account of the Treasury is now dumped over $1 trillion. And if you look at the current M2 supply, we're now at 30% base monetary inflation rate. And someone in the room challenged me that was the case, that it's not showing up in consumer prices. So everybody who's a United States citizen who's ever been into a gas station knows about Arizona iced tea. I took a picture of this morning. You can see 99% on one side. The brand new teas that just got in are now $1.29. That is a 30% increase in the monetary inflation rate that mimics M2. And for just a tailwind on this story, because I doubt Dennis will say anything, maybe Dennis will start talking about this on his new newsletter that he started. I was going to put that up there, but I didn't want to take his thunder away. I thought he could.
Well, I have the newsletter that I just started doing, but also tomorrow I'm going to be releasing the podcast episode that I did with Ben Prentice, and we talked a lot about inflation and deflation and the impacts that it has on the market. And Needless to say, Ben was on fire, and it's a great episode. I look forward to it coming out. I had a really good time speaking with him. You should also check out the latest episode. I don't like him, but personally, Lex Friedman talks with Robert Breedlove, and for the first, I haven't gotten all the way through because it's long, but for the first hour or so, Robert talks a lot about inflation and why having sound money is so important to society. And it's really at the root of pretty much all the problems that we face today. But inflation is something that I personally really despise and think is disgusting. I think it's the root of pretty much all the evil in the world. And I think it has been at the source of some of the greatest travesties that ever happened in human history. So I plan on writing about it on my own, but I probably can't do any better writing about it though than Robert Breedlove or Ben Prentice. So make sure you check out.
Don't sell yourself short, Dennis. Don't sell.
Thanks, Dr. Jack. I appreciate the shout out.
Awesome. Look forward to that, Dennis. Richard Park, because you have a avatar of Winston Churchill, I'm going to let you up. But I really hope you have a news story to share with us, because that's how we play this game. Not sure what G Mullah's story is, but
I just spent like 4 hours on Clubhouse today. Actually, I just wanted to listen. Talked about way too many subjects, and I work from home, and I was trying to, yeah. So I'll take I'll be on the sidelines for now.
okay. All right, well, I'm going to move you back down just so people don't think that, and he raised his hand again 2 seconds later, of course. You can stay silent in the audience. It's one of the ways to stay silent in the room. Joe, welcome to the Bitcoin News Hour. We sort of covered the story, but you usually have a unique take, and I have some breaking news that is related to Joe here after Joe. Joe Carlasari, you there? Of course not. Joe? We're going to close out the Bitcoin News Hour unless you share something here. All right, well, there you have it. Joe almost had a story. That's the breaking news for the hour. Unless anyone else has another story to share, we'll close out the Bitcoin News Hour for today, let you get to dinner a little bit earlier. We do this Monday through Thursday, cover about 10 or 12 news stories in a Cliff Notes like note-sharing fashion. Quick thank you to Justin, Jack, T, Raj, Emmerich, everyone else that came on stage, Chris, Joe, Dennis, Jerry, everyone that shared a story today. Thank you for helping everybody get caught up. Let me see if I can find Brecky and his awesome outro.
What a show, folks! Thank you to everyone who contributed and to everyone who listened in. Don't forget to join Cafe Bitcoin by clicking on Cafe Bitcoin at the top left of your screen. And remember to find our full schedule of events at cafebitcoin.club. We hope to see you again next time for the Bitcoin News Hour.